afternoon. Good morning, Mr O Owers. How are you?
Good morning, Martin. I'm very well. How are you?
I am fantastically well, thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to spend this time with me. I've given you a sense already of what's going on. I'm talking to people about sales and marketing, basically, is what I'm doing. And I'm talking to you about sales because you are a sales trainer, and I have experienced your training and massively enjoyed your training. And I've resold bits of your training when I've sold training as the Effective Marketing Company. And so I thought, if I'm going to speak to somebody about training, who am I going to speak to? I'm going to speak to Mr Owers. So here we are.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Martin. Shall I introduce myself? What's the best way of doing this?
Well, you are going to introduce yourself, yeah. So the format is really easy. It's basically, how are you qualified to talk to us about sales? How do you feel about sales? Kind of what you give people when you're giving them sales training, and then kind of what are your recommendations for people in this weird situation that we find ourselves in where everything's gone through a loop. So that's kind of the format. So where we start is how you're qualified. So this is where you get to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'll do that. You'll cut all that bit out, will you?
No, that'll stay in. And this bit will stay in as well. It's not like a BBC style production. It's just me having a chat with the most interesting sales and marketing people I know. And you're number 10.
Good. I know you couldn't find anyone else, and I picked up the phone.
Mate, seriously, you're the first person I've spoken to about sales. There is somebody else on the list who's also a salesperson, but no, man, you were, when I sat down, when I decided to do this and I wrote a list of names, your name was on the list. And if you check Facebook more often, we'd have spoken earlier.
Yeah. I try and avoid it. Good.
Yeah,
okay, so I'll introduce myself. So I'm James. I've worked in sales, I think, for about maybe nearly 20 years now. So I work for a large Japanese manufacturing company now as their training manager, their sales training manager. And prior to that, I had my own business. So I tended to develop salespeople who sold technical products and services, really. So IT, telecoms, and manufacturing engineering type products. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been working my current role for about 6 years now. And I look after a large sales team who are very technically, very technically strong. That's a bit about me, really. I've known Martin for a long time, so we worked together at a telecoms company. 2004.
We did work together at a telecom company. Yeah, 2005, 2006, I think it was. Maybe it was 2005.
Yeah, 5, 6.
Yes. So almost 20 years you've been working in sales. Yeah, I've been working in sales 25 years. I'm old.
You're older than me.
I am older than you, yeah. So what I'm interested to know is how, because what I think is people quite want to be a sales trainer, but I don't really know how it happens. I would like to have been a sales trainer, but I was never picked to be a sales trainer. So how did you get to be a sales trainer? I think that's interesting. Like, did you have sales experience before you were selected to become a sales trainer?
Yeah, so I was a salesman before I became a sales trainer, and I worked for a telecoms company at the time, and the way that they were working was changing so that they wanted someone to design and help people. It was appointment generation essentially to start with. That's how I fell into training, and I got some good results. So it went from there, really. And then I learned to do other things, and my role expanded, sort of naturally, really. It wasn't a conscious effort to become a sales trainer. That wasn't my aim when I was sat at school.
No, well, this is interesting to me because I don't think anyone, when they're sitting at school, wants to be a sales anything when they grow up. Like, I only ended up in sales because I had zero plan of what it was that I wanted to do. So I literally graduated, and then it's like, well, people are doing this media sales thing in London, and then I interviewed for some of those and I got one of those, and then that's it. I was in sales.
It's not got a great reputation, has it? I mean, you talk to someone about what you do, and maybe you're in sales, and they say, "Oh, what couldn't you? You couldn't you get a proper job?" Almost. Yeah, that's the that's the thought, isn't it? And it's not got a great reputation either, is it? Some of the phrases associated with being a good salesperson is blatant fraud. So, you know, you can sell ice to Eskimos. That's fraud. Yes, it's not. It's not got the best reputation out there, and the people I work with are very technically strong, and they probably don't want to be associated with that, you know, label either. And that's a shame, really, because it's got some bad. Yeah, it's not got great reputation as a job role.
Yes, and this is where I want to get to, because I definitely want to get to here, because kind of the tone of what I'm doing is, like, you know, I ran the effective marketing company for 9 years. I built like 1,000 different businesses. And when I stopped doing that, like properly, when I stopped marketing it and stopped trying to change the world with it, I kind of realized that nobody really wanted to do it. And marketing is a stupid way to make money. It absolutely is. And what I've kind of got now is this sense that nobody wants to do marketing. Nobody wants to do it. But definitely what I know for a fact is I might have a sense that nobody wants to do marketing. Absolutely nobody wants to do sales. Nobody wants to do sales. And I want to get to that, but I just want to establish your experience, because it seems to me that it's quite difficult. If you're an amazing salesperson, then you're probably not going to earn as much money by being a sales trainer. But if you're not an amazing salesperson, then how are you qualified to kind of train? I was just never sure of that mechanism.
So what you're going back to the kind of the sort of the ethos that if you can't do teach type of methodology, is that right? Something like that.
Those who can do, those who can't teach. That's what they say. But I'm
yeah,
not
and those
saying
that can't teach primary school teach. You know, that sort of, yeah.
yes, something like that. I'm not saying exactly that. But what I am saying is that there's kind of this dichotomy in selecting sales trainers, because if you are doing really well, you are probably making much more money than you're going to make if you are a sales trainer. But then if you're not doing really well, how are you qualified to tell everyone this is how it works? That's what I'm kind of interested to understand.
Oh, I see. Well, I guess it depends what you're motivated by, doesn't it? So I had my own business for 7 or 8 years, I think. I probably earn, I would imagine, yeah, definitely earn more than I do now in terms of what I did there.
Yes.
But I think it depends what you're motivated by, and I get a real buzz out of helping others get better at what they do, really, and that could be people or organisations. So yeah, that's where I get my satisfaction, I guess, something like that. My daughter says, "Do you really enjoy what you do?" And I want a job where I enjoy what I do. And I don't think many people really enjoy their jobs, but I think to get a sense of satisfaction is good. And so that's probably my motivation for doing what I do, I'd say.
Okay, so I understand that, and I've also done a lot of training now, and it is tremendously, I think, exciting and rewarding, because we're teaching, like I've been teaching marketing with some sales, you're teaching sales. You don't have to give people very much to make a really big difference, I think. And so I'm not questioning at all that it's a wholly rewarding way to make your money. I was just kind of interested in that. It seems to me, this is like across roles, in all kind of management roles, like the really good people, I don't know. We'll move on from that. If you're not. So what I want to know is, were you a really good salesperson? That's what I want to know.
Where do you have what? Sorry, what was the question?
Were you a really good salesperson? Because I've got no experience of you saying.
Oh, right. Yeah, I would say I was a strong salesperson.
Okay.
If I went back into a sales role now, I don't think I'd be that bad at it.
Right. Because the other thing, of course, is that training is a pitch. What you're doing is selling them the ideas and motivating them to put the ideas into practice. So I don't think there's, and in the broadest terms, like sales is, maybe you've got a different definition of sales, but sales is just motivating people to do things, isn't it? It's motivating people to spend money to buy something, or it's motivating somebody to get a piece of kit or book a course or change their telecoms provider or whatever it is. And actually, I think in our lives, in our relationships, we're constantly doing that. We're constantly motivating the people around us to kind of do the things that we want them to do. So I don't think sales is the alien thing that, you know, when you say that people don't want to do it, people don't like it, it's not an alien thing. It's something we do all of the time. This is how we get on together.
Yeah. So my job is to help change behaviors, really. Slightly, a little bit, to make them more effective. That's my job, I think. A salesperson, I think that's another thing that you associate with salespeople, is that they're there to push a product or a service that the customer may not have thought about having at that point in time. And I think we've talked about this before, Martin. I think a sales function should work with marketing. So it should find out what customers want. They should feed that data back into the machine. If you're producing and selling products, for example, you should feed that market research back into the organization, and then produce products that the customer wants to buy. Rather than trying to build something new and then going out and flogging it to someone who's never seen it before and might not want to buy it. I think that's the function of sales needs to be more with marketing, really.
Yeah, I absolutely think that. And I kind of think that sales and marketing in a business kind of have the worst reputation of everyone. You know, they're on the lowest rung. They seem to be. Maybe I don't know if that's true, but then they're pitted against each other. Whereas what you're saying is exactly right. You should produce products with your marketing team and your salespeople. Then you go to the market. Then you get the feedback. Then you evolve those products. And what you should have is like a virtual cycle. But what you're saying is correct. I think what I've experienced most of the time is that products and services are developed in a silo, and then they're foisted on the marketing and the sales teams who have to go out and flog them, foist them onto the market, who have no necessary need or desire.
No need for those things, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so now we're coming around to the how you feel about sales. How do you feel about sales?
How do I feel about sales? I think it's
yes.
I think it's massively important for the success of any business, really. Yeah, without a sales department or a sales function, then the customers won't know what you do. So, and you won't be able to find out from the customer what they want. So unless we can find out what the customer wants, we can't bring them improvements. You know, and so we manufacture products, so it's, you know, what we won't know what they want. We won't know if they want to speed things up, or if they want to make things smaller or faster or quicker.
Yeah.
And without a sales team, you don't know that. So how are you going to flog your stuff?
Well, I think it's the most important thing. I think it's the most important thing. If you don't have sales, if you don't have customers, if you don't have money coming into your business, you don't have a business.
No.
You know, you really don't. So I would say that sales, whether that's salespeople or whether that's sales happening, doesn't really make a difference necessarily. You don't need salespeople in 2021. You know, we've got e-commerce, we've got all of this stuff.
But you have a sales function, don't you? Whether that is whatever your shop window is, whether it's a salesperson or whether it's a website, that is a sales function, isn't it?
Exactly. That's a sales function, and sales have to happen, or else you are not in business. It's as simple as that. Okay, so this brings us round then to the next question, how you feel about sales. Exactly the same as me. It has to happen, or else you're not in business. So and this happens on levels, so why are salespeople so thought of so badly within businesses? And then why are salespeople thought so badly of by the general population? Like, why don't people like salespeople? Why don't businesses like salespeople, and why doesn't the market like salespeople?
Yeah, the wider public don't like salespeople because their association with a salesperson is someone that's just sold them a second-hand car, or someone has sold them something that they don't necessarily want, and the double glazing type sales personalities that are out there. The general public hate salespeople because you've got that association there, haven't you, of what a
Yes.
salesperson is. That's not great. In businesses, lots of different reasons. I think salespeople tend to be a little bit noisier than other departments. If they're remote workers, there's the whole them and us thing. You know, they're always swanning around in their cars. We're coming to the office every single day. You know, it's that them and us type of relationship. It's not great either. So yeah, there's a few reasons, I think, Martin. But yeah, no, in lots of organizations they are well respected. So I don't think that's all of the time, you know.
No.
I certainly work for a very sales-led company, and we don't tend to have that. But yeah, I know in some companies it is.
Yes. So if we go back to okay, man, there's so much I want to say. Right, so if we go back to where you started in sales training, you were talking about self-generated leads. You were teaching them how to canvas. And I think that's the training I had from you back in 2005, whenever it was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so it's just when I started getting into it, sales training, 2003, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, I was very good at booking appointments. And then, yeah, they said, well, could you show some other people how to do that? So it was almost that. Yeah, it was a accident, really.
Okay. You're looking so serious. I've never seen you looking this serious. Okay.
Well, you got a camera on me and stuff, and I'm trying to concentrate.
And I've told you you look like Booba.
And you've told me I look like a cartoon character.
Okay, good. Right. So this self-generation thing, I think, is also part of the issue. And I'm just wondering if we could possibly even get through this, like in the hour or whatever we've got today, because for me, it's so important and it's so screwed up. And actually, to me, it's really quite obvious what needs to happen. So, for example, I think the reason some businesses don't like salespeople is because they can't necessarily sell the product. Now, the product hasn't been developed with the customers or with the market in mind. It hasn't been developed to meet a need of the market. It's typically been developed in a silo, and some clever person somewhere has decided that everyone should want to buy this. And then they employ salespeople to go and sell it, and then the salespeople can't sell it. And then that becomes a mess, okay? So then you're in a situation where the salespeople are seen as bullies or snakes or boars or whatever it is, sharks that go out there and try and push or bully people into buying things. That's why people don't like salespeople, because it feels like they're trying to sell them something that they don't want, and they won't take no for an answer. And in the UK, I don't know if we've got it universally, but when I was a kid, there was an insurance man, and he would come and he would sit there till 1 o'clock in the morning and refuse to leave until people had signed stuff. There was similar stuff happening in the telecoms industry when we were there. People would just sit there for hours and hours and hours until they got the deal. So there's that going on. So I think part of this issue then is that, so what I say, like the marketing and the sales function. So for me, it's a chronology. You do marketing generate your leads. Basically, they do lots of other things, but also they generate your leads. And that then is work for salespeople. Now, I don't know what you think a lead is, but for me, it's a prospective customer showing like a buying signal, some intent or some interest in this product or service.
I think, so it's very simplified. I think marketing is getting the phone to ring, and the sales is knowing what to say when it rings.
Exactly. So what happens then in lots of organizations is that they employ lots of salespeople. They don't do anywhere near enough marketing. If they're doing any marketing, the phone's not ringing. So now you're sending these sharks and boars and snakes and whatever they are out into the market to bully
Yeah.
their way into people's lives to try and
Well,
sell
because
them
you
stuff
can't get
that
anyone
people don't
else. So
need.
if you've got a company that isn't doing any marketing and they don't and they are pushing products onto a customer, the only people that you're going to have work for you as a salesperson are those sharks. Because why would a normal person want to smash on someone's door 50 times a day? There's takes a special type of person to be able to do that again and again and again and again. And it's not a,
Yes.
and that's where you get your bad reputation as a sales guy, I think, because it is those people that have to do those jobs.
Yes. And in the
Yeah.
worst instance, they send them out commission only. If you
Yeah.
sell something, then you'll make some money. So now they are triply motivated to actually foist this stuff on people who may not want it. Probably don't want it, is the truth.
Don't want it. Yeah.
So this is where becomes really concentrated, and it's so stupid. Why is it like that? Why do people decide I'm going to employ 30 salespeople without any leads? I'm going to send these people out to knock on doors and call people up on the phone, and that's basically it, canvassing.
Yeah, they're not money motivated. They just need to pay their bills. If you're paying someone commission only, then they're not money motivated, are they? They just want to, well, I've got to pay my rent or I've got to pay my mortgage. So
Yes.
this guy is having what I'm selling.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's bad.
So the other guy that I'm going to talk to about sales, but I spoke to you first. The other guy, he does a thing where he says that the word sales, do you know the origin of the word sales? I don't know if I do, but he says this and I bought it. So
okay,
he says it comes from a Norwegian or like a Norse word, which is selja. I think it's spelled S-E-L-J-E. And
I'll fact
selja
check this later. Yeah, okay. Yeah, what does that mean?
I've tried and I can't.
Yeah,
I haven't been
yeah.
able to corroborate it at all. It's in one of my videos and I've quoted him, but I haven't quoted anyone Norwegian or Norse. Selja means to serve.
Yeah.
Now, doesn't that solve this whole issue?
Yeah, because it's not push, is it? It's giving the people what they want, isn't it? So you need to find out what they want so you can serve them. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, that makes absolutely perfect sense. Like if you're selling anything and you are providing somebody to help you to make the very best decision, then surely people are going to make much better decisions. They're going to enjoy the product much more. They're going to get much more value from it. They're going to talk to their friends about it potentially. They're going to come back and they're going to buy from you again. And that seems to me, I mean, that is completely the opposite to the way that people perceive salespeople.
It's perception, isn't it? Because you sell a marketing solution to someone and you need to find out what they want and give them what they want. If you don't, then they won't use you again. And if they don't see the results that they expect from it, and you've told them that they'll get, then they won't buy anything from you again, and they won't recommend you to anyone else, and you'll have to get new customers again and again and again.
Yes, and I'm going to have to employ a whole host of sales army to do that, and then I'm going to have a shitty reputation. But this is what goes on. This is what I'm saying goes on.
Yeah. Shit, isn't
Why? It's shit. Now, so I was talking to you about this the other day, where nobody wants to be in sales when they grow up. I kind of get in a sense in the States that they do, that people might grow up wanting to be salespeople.
It's a recognized profession, isn't it? And it's a bit like engineering in this country as well. So in Germany and parts of Europe, that is their recognized, development plans for engineers. In America, they have that for salespeople. So it is a recognized is a recognized profession. And,
yes. And what's the thing about that? And typically, it's salespeople who end up becoming the MDs of companies. Is that in the States? I know that's true. Is that as true
yeah.
in the UK? I wonder.
Is it? I'd say more accountants, wouldn't you?
I don't know. That would be so British.
Yeah.
So, but the thing
but
is,
yes, yeah, the hierarchy, is usually a sales-led individual at the top, isn't it?
which makes sense. You have the most persuasive, positive, outgoing sort of people at the top of the business. So the question is then, why don't people want to have careers in sales?
I think they do. I just don't think the perception of it as people grow up is great. I think people that I've worked with in sales have rewarding, a lot of them have got very rewarding careers and they enjoy what they do.
Okay. Yeah, no, because that's what I want to say. I had a sales career. I mean, I've sold since I graduated, since I was selling media sales, I've always sold, even though I was running a marketing company, I still had to sell the clients.
Yeah, the sales.
So I've always sold. And I would say, but especially during the part, I mean, I had some dodgy jobs like that telecoms job with you, but some of the stuff that I've experienced has been phenomenal. I've been to like cricket World Cups and stuff. I've done amazing hospitality stuff. Like when I was working in South Africa, it was kind of my responsibility to make sure that I got clients on the golf course a couple of times a month. Do you know what I mean? So then I'm walking around in South Africa on a golf course. So I think it's an amazing
so I worked
career.
when I had my own business, we did some recruitment as well. So we would do training for people, and as a result of that, some of them would say, well, can you find us people as well? So that part of the business grew as well. And we were finding people. So it was interesting. We were finding people that were not new graduates, but maybe they've had a first or second job. And some of the people going into things like pharmacy, things like certainly a lot of lab type work. We were looking for technical type people with science-based degrees, and some of these people thought that career was going to be for them when they were at school at university, and then after 2 or 3 years stuck in a lab, that's not what they wanted. So actually we were moving people from those roles into business development roles, selling technical products, and they were much happier. But you think when you're at school, that's what you want to do. You want to, I'll do a science-based degree. I'll go and work in a lab, and then reality hits home that you're sat in front of a petri dish or a CAD screen for 8 hours a day, and that's not what you thought life would be.
Okay, so this is interesting. Are we saying that this is a failure of the education system? I mean,
I don't think schools know enough about what real roles entail, because if you ask an average, I guess, I don't know, I'm guessing an average teacher wouldn't know what a salesperson did who sold a really quite technical solution. They wouldn't know the ins and outs of that.
No, I wonder how many people are employed as salespeople in the UK. It must be, if there's 30 million people working in the UK, are there 1 million salespeople working in the UK?
Must be more, I would say.
More than 1/30 of the workforce. So, because I often think I was like one of those leery little kids.
It's almost half of our organisation. So I work for a company in the UK. We have 280 people, and there are just under 100 salespeople.
Right. Well, I'm thinking also there's some manufacturing left, isn't there? There must be manufacturing companies that employ thousands of people and only 1 or 2 salespeople.
Yeah.
So, but I think maybe 1/30. Shall I Google it? Anyway,
You
it doesn't
Google it.
matter. But,
Yeah, Google it.
but there
It's a
is,
big employer. It's a large employer.
it's a large employer.
Mm.
And I think you're right. Probably teachers don't have a clue what's involved in sales or how many of those people are going to end up in sales. But I was one of those Larry kids. I was always causing trouble in the classroom. I was quite popular. I was quite funny. I was looking for attention.
Yeah.
There should have been somebody in that school who said he should go into sales. There should have been
But
somebody.
no one does, do they? You did do. I was talking to some old school friends about one of them's a pilot. He's a pilot for BA, and we were talking about the BBC Micro Careers Test. Did you ever do that? And it gave you like a long list of careers that you might do. And they were like, James, what was on yours? And mine was tax collector or gardener. That was what my choice was. My friend who's a pilot, I was like, what was yours? He was like, funny enough, it was pilot. And I was like, what was your second one? Because you have to do, you're going to have to find something else. He was like, funny enough, it might have been gardener. But you don't know, do you, when you're at school? And your teachers aren't best placed to maybe advise, because they don't know. It's not their fault. And if you haven't got parents that have had, careers, then how are you going to choose? Difficult. Because you're asked to choose your career quite early on. You're doing A levels and then you're going into a degree at 17, 18. That's young to decide, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially not to know that this whole sales thing is available to you. I mean, what does a salesperson like? I don't know. What does a salesperson do? A salesperson goes and meets with people and makes friends with them. You see, this is what I tell people. I've done this presentation called "I'm in the mood for selling," and I tell them that sales is simply making friends with people and making it easier for them to buy. That's the gig. Do you know what I mean? I don't know that it's
asking good questions, the ability to ask decent, well-structured questions to find out what the customer wants. Yeah, build relationships as well, but also find out what the customer wants and give them what they want in a well-presented way. Add some value to what they do. Yeah, that's what they need to be able to do.
Yes, that's what they need to be able to do. But what a great job that is. What a great job that is. You're like basically running around, making friends with people, finding out what they really need, bringing value to their lives. That's a great job. So why isn't there? Like, I bet there can't be a BTEC in selling. There's not an A-levels in selling. There's no career. Like every Larry kid at school should be taken aside and said, look, you're going to end up in sales, so we're going to give you
prison. Which one do you want to choose?
You're going to go into sales for a bit and then you're going to go to prison. So, but there is no education, is there? And I think that's kind of insane. I think, why is that? Everything has to be sold.
But also, you don't want a load of Larry. You don't also, not all, I've worked with some very good salespeople who aren't the life and soul of the party. They're not. I don't think you always need that. You don't need someone who's bouncing around all the time. You do need in a lot of cases, you need someone who's pretty, who's able to build relationships, but with multiple people, not just people that like to hear him speak a lot.
Yes. So I'm not saying that every Larry person would make a great salesperson, but I'm saying every Larry kid in school should be channeled towards like that. What makes most sense is like, if they're going to be that personality, if they're going to want that attention, if they're going to be that outgoing, then they should be given some kind of steer towards sales. But there's not. Like, there's nowhere in the education system that I'm aware of. I haven't been in it for a long time. But there's nowhere in the education system where they're saying, okay, even like beyond sales, let's just talk about, you could do marketing A-levels, can you now? You could do marketing degrees, but there's no equivalent to that in sales. I think that's insane. And salespeople make a load of money. Like if you grow up poor, there's three ways probably to make money. You can steal it, which is those that go
Yeah.
to prison. You can become a footballer, a professional athlete, or you can go into sales. That's kind of the three ways that you could possibly make a real difference to your life. But there is no formal education for salespeople.
No, if you want to become a highly paid barrister, then you go through the education system, don't you?
Yes.
You go through your law degree and you sit your bar exams and you go that way, don't you? But to become a highly paid sales individual, it's slightly different, isn't it?
It is slightly different. You kind of drop out and have no clue what it is that you want to do. And then you get kind of lucky, I think. You see, if you think about all the things, like my nephew is a financial advisor. He's basically a salesperson. He's selling policies and investments and all those kinds of things. Everything is kind of sales. But I'm thinking more broadly now, there is no kind of like how many customer service people are employed in the UK? Is there a formal, like, you would be a good customer service person? It's
not really, is it?
No. I'm wondering.
No,
if
you
I
need some
even
sort
knew-
of you need some natural traits, don't you? But the rest can be trained. But you definitely need some natural traits to succeed as a salesperson, I think. Not everyone can do it.
No.
Or would want to.
Yeah. Okay, I'm talking a lot. What do you think those traits are?
I think you've got to do what you say you're going to do. So I think you've got to be highly conscientious. That gets rid of the old, the salespeople are always lying. I think you have to be able to, back that up by saying, no, you're not. I think you need to be fairly resilient. So the ability to take knocks, I think, is important. And you need to have naturally curious, I think, about the world around you, about how it works and about what makes things tick. So what people want, really. So I think you need to be able to naturally curious about that.
Yes.
And genuinely interested in people and things and businesses, because then you're able to present back a solution that's going to add some value to the customer, to actually what they want, rather than just, some product you're trying to flog.
Yes.
So I think some of those things. Yeah. Does that make sense? I'd say those few things.
That makes absolute perfect sense. But that is the opposite of the salespeople that or the perception of salespeople that exists in the world.
You think of, I think, yeah. The sharks and the charlatans that lie and sell their own grandmother type people. Yeah.
And then there's a lot of this goes on in the UK, isn't there? Like you get these watchdog programs and they have these people who are out selling. What are they selling? Where they're ripping people off all the time, selling them insurances or pyramid schemes or all of that stuff. This has honestly never occurred to me that I don't think I knew that sales existed as a function until I graduated and went for an interview.
No, not until I was at university. I think I did a land management type degree at university, and part of that was a marketing man. We had a marketing lecturer of some sort, and they grabbed a few of us afterwards and said, have you thought about going into sales? And I didn't know what that meant, really. So that was when I first but didn't really occur to me.
No, I don't think I knew it existed until I went to interview for those kinds of jobs in London. I mean, I must have known it existed. Like, that retail salespeople exist, or that there's the insurance salesman, I suppose. I don't know if I understood. I don't know. So that's
nuts, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, so what I'm interested then is when, I suppose this is different now because you're working with established sales teams, and the people who come to you have decided they want to be salespeople already.
Yes.
What I want to know is what kind of challenges, what kind of behaviours are you trying to instill in these people to make them more effective? That's kind of what I'm interested to know.
Okay, so yeah, most of the people I'm working with are technically very strong. So we sell a technical solution. My job really is to sharpen their commercial skills, so that, you know, the ability to ask those good questions, and how we do a lot of market research with the customer, but it's how do you present that value to the customer really. And if you're happy talking to maybe, and now it's changed, isn't it? We don't just have to talk to one person in the business that we used to. It would just be the technical purchaser or the purchaser you'd have to go and talk to. Now we're having to talk to multiple people in the business, and they all have very different needs. They couldn't give a lot of them couldn't give a rat's ass what we did, but actually we can present the value in a different way, and you need to be able to do that. So that's what most of the time, that's what I'm working with our sales team on, is how do we prove value to the other people in the business, not just our main point of contact. Because with larger decisions, more people need to get involved, and that's hard.
Right.
That's most of it.
Do they call this organizational selling? Is this got a name or something?
We kind of call it value selling, I guess. Okay. We want to prove value. The challenge we've got is that we need to be able to do that across departments, so not just one purchasing department. But there's other elements of that value chain, like the sales function of a company, like the engineering function, like the service function. We need to be able to talk to all of those, so they all say yes to us. Really, that's the tricky bit, really.
Okay, that makes sense. So is it like you need cross-department support to buy a solution, or you're looking to sell the same solution into separate departments?
It's one solution, but we need them all to be able to recognize that it's a good way to go.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a technical product, but we want we want to be able to get agreement from other departments within the business that it's a good thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're selling your marketing solution to a company, you'd probably go and speak to, I don't know, who do you speak to? A marketing department or a business owner, maybe?
You'd speak to the business owner, typically.
Yeah.
I mean, you might speak to a marketing department. They might just be looking to outsource part of their function, part of their role.
Yeah.
But you would.
You need to see. Why do you need to speak to the business owner?
Well, it would depend on the scale of the business. Like a lot of what I was doing was working with small businesses. So then it would always be the business owner. But come on, man, you're a salesperson. You know that shit flows down much easier than it flows up.
It does, exactly. That's so you need to be able to have those conversations, don't you? So that's So that's why, and that's a lot of what I work with our sales team on is really supporting them have those conversations with those other people. You know, and how do you do that? How do you get to speak to someone like that when we sell a technical solution? Why does he want to speak to us? So yeah, it's helping them develop those conversations really, so that we can give the customer what they want, but all of those people what they want.
Yes. So are your guys networking in your customers' businesses, looking to build more relationships? That's the way it's working. Yeah. That's a
better way of putting it. Yeah, networking in their customers. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Good. Right. I had a role when I had to do that. I was selling big IT solutions in South Africa. And I asked this guy kind of what was going on around him, who the people were, blah, blah. And he sat down and he drew me like an organizational chart.
Nice family tree for you.
A family tree.
Yeah.
But it was all based on when people were retiring and who was likely to get promoted into their role and this sort of stuff. It was amazing. Yeah. Like this guy was institutionalized. This was like a big South African bank, and he was completely institutionalized. So I've been in that situation. So then I would say that is coming around again to almost like not lead generation, but kind of marketing, kind of, I suppose it is networking, it is kind of canvassing within their businesses. So these guys are doing a little bit of their own marketing as well.
Yeah, and finding out, we want to find out what different departments want, so our marketing team can send them targeted kind of information that they're going to find useful, because we all sell a technical product, and that'll have a benefit to a sales guy building selling something, but it'll also have a benefit to a production guy who's putting that thing together. But the same product, but it'll have very different benefits to the individuals. So we need to be able to know what they want.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. But what you're describing here, for me, is the virtuous cycle. Like, you have a product, you get it into customers' sites, you get the feedback from the customers, they give you ideas of how it could evolve or how it could be different, bigger, smaller, faster, yellower, whatever the
they're looking
is.
For.
And then
we
that
fit it
feeds
back
back
into the
into
machine.
the product development cycle, and then so that is a virtuous circle or a virtuous cycle where it's just getting easier and easier and easier for the salespeople and for the marketing people and for the product development people and for the customers, getting easier for everyone. So that, for me, is the ideal. That absolutely is the ideal. So what are the challenges that, not necessarily in your role now, I'm kind of interested, because you said that you were great at setting appointments, which is notoriously difficult. So what are the attitudes then, maybe, not in your current role, but when people come, has everyone you've ever trained always decided already they're going to be a salesperson? That's what I'm kind of interested to know.
No, definitely not. No,
Right.
I think most of the sales team I've been working with are technical sales teams. So not just, I've been working here for a while, but when I had my own business, certainly my customers were mainly selling technical solutions. Most of their sales team, one of them joked that they were in sales because they were the last team to find chairs to sit down. So they're all just engineers, but we couldn't find a chair in time. So we're not designers, we're salespeople. So I think a lot of the sales teams I work with did other things first, and that the sales element of their job came later.
Right.
So there's not many, that wanted to, that, like we said before, really, I don't think they left school thinking I'm going to be a salesperson. They probably thought, oh, well, I've got an IT degree, I want to go and do something with computers, or I want to go and, I've got a mechanical design degree, I'll design products, I want to be the next James Dyson. And then I sat in front of a CAD screen for 8 hours thinking, maybe this isn't great.
Right.
I want to go and talk to people.
Good.
So then they start to think, well, what's a job where I could do this and maybe use my social skills as well, and that's sales.
That's sales. So I don't want to. So I'll just ask the question, because it's 50-50, so it's going to be fine. Do they see themselves as failed engineers, or do they see themselves as whatever that opposite of a failed engineer is?
Yeah, it was a bit like your question, like why aren't you a salesperson, James? Why do you train people in sales? Because you could earn more money if you were selling a high value product and become a salesperson. It's the same question to that designer or that guy working, that person working in a lab testing, I don't know, some new drug or whatever. They train for that role, but it doesn't give them the satisfaction that they want, so they want to go and do something else.
Okay, so that's kind of, I never asked you why you would be a salesperson as opposed to we got that completely wrong, but that's fine.
Okay,
So that's what I'm asking. Is it self-determined, or is it the fact that they've kind of haven't made the grade as engineers, and so now they are falling back on sales? That's what I'm kind of interested to know. And actually, I'm not so interested.
They haven't become James Dyson, so they want Yeah, they haven't invented the new whatever it is. And I thought, oh God, I'm never going to be the best at this. What else can I do? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Certainly the people that I've interviewed that have come from those roles have never said, I'm never going to be perfect at that, so I'm not going to do it anymore. They've always said something else. They've always been quite genuine. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I can't see myself doing that for the next 30 years. I want to do something else. And this is what I've thought about. What do you think?
Okay, I get you.
I think that's more of it.
Good. So you remember when I put this cable tie on to make this whole situation look
Yeah,
better?
did it
I forgot
work?
to cut the end off the cable tie, so it doesn't look better, does it?
I've got some clips. I've got some snips if you want to.
Yeah.
Just pass them through.
So what I'm interested then is there, like, because you are molding their behavior, that's what you're saying, is that's not the way you put it, their behavior.
But yeah, you want to alter their behavior. You want some behavioral change, really. Yeah, to help them improve. Yeah.
Okay, and is there resistance to that, or are they all coming and excited about being sales engineers?
No, there's some resistance to that. I think you've got a selection of people that are, we sometimes call them rocks or sponges, I think, with salespeople. So they're people that, if you're a sponge, you're looking to soak up new things and develop, whereas you do get some individuals that I think want to stay with what they're doing and don't want to do anything. I think you only have that in any industry, really, any profession. People that don't want to improve, so don't tend to work very much with. Well, there's no point working with those people because they're happy with doing what they're doing.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm smiling now because I'm just remembering we did that NLP course together, and that's kind of what I'm interested. Like, I don't know if I got it from you. There's like a need because thing. Have you heard this? Like need because.
Oh yeah. We did the compliance trigger. The word because. Yeah. The need.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And what I think is you don't have to give salespeople very much to make them much better. And
no.
And for me, it is about kind of changing this outlook. So when I train people in sales, I kind of tell them this is what the world thinks of salespeople. And if you don't want the world to think this of you, then you have to do it very differently. And I tell them all the things that we're saying now. Build strong relationships, make it easy for people to buy, do what you say you're going to do, sell people the right thing, and they'll like you and they'll refer you and you'll be a successful salesperson. But it does seem to me that it's attitude or behavior that needs to change. Like either the attitude, I'm going to say it's 60% attitude.
Yeah, I think so. I think when a salesperson's in front of a customer, they'll use their normal personality, won't they? Usually, but that doesn't always work. And when that doesn't work, it's because they may not be selling to someone who they would naturally get on with. And I think that's when training becomes really important. I think then you've got to think, okay, well, what should I be doing now? What questions do I need to ask to find information out from this person? Because if you're not naturally similar, that's when it becomes more challenging, I think, because you don't always get on well with your customer. But I don't think you need to. I think as long as you can find out about them and find out what they want, and like you said, make it easy to buy from you, then they will buy from you.
Yes, I don't think that they have to. You have to get on, but I think it makes it so much easier if you do. So I think if we're breaking this, if we're putting silly numbers on these things, which is what I like to do, I think it's like 80% rapport.
Yeah, the whole people buy from people thing, I think it is important. I think they will do as long as the value's the same. If you can prove more value, then you're going to blow your competition out of the water, even if they're the best mates, because you can demonstrate that across multiple departments in a company. Your relationship with one individual is not going to help you. No.
Okay. So that is exactly right.
So we're competing with. No.
Yeah.
You take that guy to golf, or you take that guy to the World Cup, or whatever it's going to be. That becomes completely irrelevant now, because your competition has got relationships and is proving value across 5 or 6 departments. And the fact that you've gone to golf with some guy doesn't make a difference anymore.
No. Well, unless it's the very top guy. Okay, so
yeah, maybe. Well, you've got a whole load of other very influential people that work for him, that and if they've got a relationship with your competitor, and if there's, if you're the MD saying, yeah, I know, I think we should go with company B, and everyone else is saying, yeah, we can do, but that's going to cost us a lot of money, and actually company A looks like a much better then he's under pressure.
So I'm with you. If you've got too good a rapport with one person, then that can actually be counterproductive, because then you could create jealousies, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't want that to happen.
Relationships is important, but yeah, what I'm saying is, if you can prove value across, then I think it's not as important.
No. Okay, it limits the importance of it. Okay, so in terms of delivering value, to what extent is the salesperson contributing to that value?
They need to be able to identify it, sort of monetize it, really. So they need to be able to understand what their product or service provides that customer, and how does that equate to a money or a time that is going to give that customer. What's it going to do for them?
Yes.
Yeah, because you get the old thing about features and benefits, don't you? You say, well, the seatbelt saves the person's life, and that's the benefit. But actually, all seatbelts do the same thing now, don't they? And the things that we make as well, our competition make similar things, but it's the value that has on the individual customer and the individual that's important.
Yes. So I'm imagining that they've got criteria. They're going to buy this thing. They've got criteria. So it does X, Y, and Z. So there's a function criteria. There's a price criteria. There's a delivery criteria. But there's not necessarily a salesperson criteria or a relationship kind of criteria.
No.
But at some point, if you're saying, okay, if it meets the price criteria, the function criteria, the deliverability criteria, and the guy's a great guy and he's always been available to us and blah, 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 then he is going to contribute to that kind of value pie.
It's the free money, isn't it? It's what the customer's free money they're going to get. So they're going to get it. They'll get, price and delivery, that it is, that's ticked off for them. The reputation of the business is fine, but what's the free money that they're going to get as well as that? What's that going to deliver for them? What's it going to do? Is it going to, help them sell more of the things that they're producing? What's it going to do for them?
So you're talking about the added value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everything does the same thing, doesn't it? You buy there used to be lots of jokes about cheap Skodas and things like that, but if you buy a Skoda now and you put the key in the ignition, you expect that thing to go. There's no assumption that it won't go anymore.
There's no assumption that it won't go, no.
But it's the same car as an Audi A4. So the Skoda, whatever it is, exactly the same car, but the Audi, it costs more.
Costs a lot.
Why is that?
Like 30% more. Brand.
Yeah. Because you feel good driving one and you feel good with it on your driveway, and that's the free money, isn't it? That's what you're paying for.
Okay. I've not heard this concept free money before.
Yeah, what's the free money the customer's going to get?
Yeah,
it's value, really. That's what value. Yeah, it's what value they're going to see. But it's that's what it is. It's that thing that they get on top of what they're paying for.
Okay. So what I was asking was something slightly different. Is I was just saying, what part of the value pie does the actual relationship with the salesperson contribute? And you're saying less, because you're selling to different people in different departments. And so the value proposition has to be the strong thing, because that's the thing that will translate, and the relationship won't necessarily translate. So I think you've answered that question.
Relationships are important, I think, but just we need to, I think it's important to build across the organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, I was always like a relationship salesperson. Like I would never talk about, I would always talk about their families, their football, their holidays, their whatever.
Yeah.
And then typically in the last 5 minutes, they'll say, okay, and we need X, 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 X. And it's like, okay, we'll sort that out for you.
Yeah.
You know? So it always kind of goes like a client meeting would go, how's everything? How's what we're doing? It's all good. Okay, great. How are you? How's the family? How's the thing? Cups of tea, biscuits, whatever, round of golf. Okay, and Martin, we need X, X, X. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I've seen certainly with salespeople that I've worked with, you can tell when it's going really well because you're in a business and they seem to know everyone in that business as you walk through. They're saying hello to them before you meet them. You know, and you're meeting several people before you go and meet the actual person that we're supposed to be meeting, and you think actually this is going to go well. There's lots of, you're taking away the risk of something going wrong because so many people are saying, yeah, I think we should go for this company, or you know that, and it's not then a career risk to choose a different supplier because the supplier seems to be well accepted. I think didn't IBM used to have that phrase, didn't they? Well, you won't get fired for buying IBM.
Yes,
because it's such
they
a well
did have
renowned.
that phrase, but that was the strength of their brand again.
Yeah.
Something about buying blue. It was. I did because I was selling against IBM when I was against IBM. It was ridiculous. We were
against IBM.
Maggot compared to them. But we would be pitching up against IBM kind of solutions and stuff. So that's what I've always thought, and that's what I've always told people, is there's typically only one person in a target business that can say yes, but everybody can say no.
Everyone else can say no. Yeah,
exactly.
Everyone
and
else
it only takes one of those people to say no.
Say, oh, I'm not sure about this. I don't think we should go with that.
Exactly. They've got better relationship that you have because you are just outside. So they don't have to throw down much resistance. So this is why, like we were talking earlier on about appointment setting and stuff, people would shout at receptionists, like if they were cold calling on like appointments, or lie to them or do whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you bother doing it? Because the best thing that's going to happen is that you're going to get invited into that business. And then when you turn up, the receptionist is going to go, oh, there's that dick who lied to me about such and such.
Yeah.
You've got no chance. Do you know
or it's not even a receptionist anyway. There's so many businesses that don't have them. People just pick up the phone, don't they? You know, it's not like the 1970s anymore, is it?
No. Okay, so part of this little journey that I'm on, you're number 10. It would have been better if you were... 10. Oh,
good.
You're number
Double
10,
digits.
Yeah. Double digits, yeah. It would be better if you were 007, because that would go with the O-Owers.
Yeah.
The thing is, I started out with this preconceived idea, or this idea that everyone hates marketers and nobody knows what they're doing, and everybody hates salespeople, and salespeople don't know what they're doing. And marketing and sales is the thing that will make you successful in your business. It's the only thing that will make you successful in your business, and nobody wants to do it. But I'm not finding that at all. You know, everyone I talk to, okay, they are like marketing providers, you're a sales trainer. But it seems to me that the practice, the good practice, is not only known, it's people are doing it, it's in practice. And so I'm becoming more confused now about why people don't value this stuff.
Most of the people I work with are generally do a good job and want to do it well.
Yes.
So I've caused you more confusion now, Martin.
Yeah, not you, all of you, like the other 9 people as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like everyone has. So what's the answer then? Is the answer then that the reputation is so entrenched and people's perceptions are so entrenched that these are the attitudes, or is it
I haven't
something
asked.
else?
I'll ask. I should ask my. I've got teenage children now, so I should ask them because they must be getting some career advice at school.
Yes. Do you want to hear about the career advice I got at school?
What was yours? Was it gardener and tax collector?
No, it was.
No.
This is the only careers guidance I've had in my entire life. I think I was at sixth form already, and when I was a kid, I was always involved in like we had a really good drum department at school, so I was always involved with the plays. Although there was a lot of strikes going on, so not many plays happened. And I auditioned for the BBC production of the Oliver Twist one time, but they told me my cheeks were too fat, so I didn't get the part. And I was doing theatre studies at A level in sixth form. So when they sat me down and said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, I'd like to work in television." And what they said to me is, "Well, they make televisions on the industrial estate, so maybe you should go there, and then maybe you can work yourself up to be actually on television." This is when there were only 3 or 4 channels.
Really? So make the television. I live in a town where we make cars. So if you say, like, I want to be a racing car driver, they could probably say a similar thing is, well, they make cars down the road there, so why don't you build them?
Yes.
and then one day.
But this is absurd because, like, you think of the jobs that people are doing now, they could not have had a clue 20 years ago that these jobs were going to exist. Like, who knew that people were going to be web developers or social media managers or I don't know, artificial intelligence or computer programmers? Who knew that there were going to be computer programmers 30 years ago, you know? Literally 30 years ago, maybe not 30 years ago, but who knew? Who knew that there were going to be YouTubers? It's like, how can they know? But what they definitely knew is that there were going to be salespeople. Like, salespeople aren't an invention of the last 30 years. Salespeople existed before. Salespeople exist now. Salespeople will probably always need to exist. But it's not. There's no channel for.
I will ask. I'll ask my teenagers. I'll ask them. I'll ask them. Yeah. I have no idea what they want to do. My youngest definitely wanted to be a giraffe, but she's decided that that's not possible anymore. She's 10, so she can't be a giraffe.
When did she stop believing that she could be a giraffe?
I think about 5-ish, something like that.
Are you 6'4"?
I'm 6'2", 6'1.5".
So she probably thought because her dad was really tall, there was a chance of her becoming.
There's a chance that I could be.
Okay, good. So how long have we been going? Do you know, what time is it?
We've been going a while. Hour? I've got to go soon. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so the only other thing I'm asking people is about kind of recommendations in this weird pandemic recession situation. Like, what is your recommendation for people who are looking to thrive, grow their businesses, maybe survive in this weird situation? I think I know what you're going to say.
What do people need to do?
Yes. Like businesses, sales teams, marketing teams, business owners. Adapt.
Yeah, we've had to certainly do a lot of that. So adapt the way you talk to customers, how we communicate with customers is changing now. We're doing it like this, and we're doing, and there's a lot more of this. I haven't been into the office since last year, and we're doing okay. So it's the way we communicate with customers and colleagues needs to change, and find out. And people are pretty adaptable to that type of communication change, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I suppose it's kind of enforced. So have you put together particular, because I was thinking about doing this like a Zoom sales conversation training or something.
So we've done. We've been working with the sales team over the last year, and how we can communicate better with the customer. So how do you do a factory tour? How do we get someone? Because we want people around our facilities, but how do you do that without it being like a really corporate video. So we've looked at ways of actually getting a virtual, people round our facility virtually. How do we get product in front of someone that we're not allowed on site to be? There's restrictions there. So I think it's about adapting how you communicate with customers. So how do you speak to them? How do you meet them? How do you get in front of them and find out what they want? Really, in this, it is a bit of a changing world, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, I think it's forced people to become creative, which is it's refreshing, really.
I suppose it is refreshing, and it is a reset. But I understand that you're kind of in medical in some way, shape, or form. So you are what are they calling it now? A crucial business, vital business.
Yeah, we provide components into lots of industries, but a lot of food and medical industries use it. So the factory has to stay open. So I think it's called an essential service or something like that. Yeah.
So those are businesses that are probably not affected by this in the way that other businesses are.
I mean, some are. It depends. Yeah, some are. Some people that are building things can't open. They're not getting orders.
Yes.
So they're not.
Yes.
But some are.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I think, consistent with what you were saying before, and this is kind of I'm late to this. I'm not really in the business anymore. I look after my clients. I'm not as engaged with the market. But in these conversations, I think that the most positive thing I've heard is where people continue to be talking to their customers, because irrespective of what you're selling, their situation has changed. Like, it might be you just have to adapt the way you engage with those people, but their situation has changed, their needs have changed. So this situation is kind of more proof of what you're saying, which is, be close to your customer and understand exactly what their needs are. And I think the temptation has, or will have been, for lots of businesses to kind of not want to be selling to people, but not understanding that maybe that sales is just about understanding their situation and their needs. And
I think you have to, because people, I think, to start with, were saying, we'll just do lots of these types of calls. And actually, you've got to respect other people's privacy, because they're working from home as well, and they might not want you in their house.
Yes.
So you have to, I think. So we've been working, how do you do that then? So I think it's, you can't, just expect everyone's going to jump on video calls and be happy with that. I don't think everyone is. So you have to vary how you communicate with customer. How do they like to communicate with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've always thought is, like, I've seen sales trainers teach, what do they call it? A selling cycle, selling steps, selling, oh my God.
Like a process, or like a sales process? Yeah.
Here's our sales process. And what I have always thought, and what I've always done, is work really hard to understand their buying process, because I can bend my selling process to meet their buying process. But it hadn't occurred to me that people wouldn't want to necessarily be having video calls into their homes and stuff. But of course, that makes absolute sense.
So if they don't want to see you in their office, if you're trying to, if you go back to lead generation, you're trying to book an appointment to go and see someone, there's a bit of resistance there. But now you're saying, I want to have an appointment in your front room.
Yes.
You're and for some people, that's not comfortable. They're sharing their space with your home. Over here, we're homeschooling, and schools are closed at the moment. It's crazy.
It is
so
crazy,
got dogs and cats running around everywhere.
Yes. Okay.
My kids come in when I'm doing an online meeting or something like that, and I've got the kids at home. They know that that's the best time to come and get money from me.
How much money have they had?
They start small. They're savvy. They're like, can I have £3, please? They don't come in and ask for a tenner.
No.
It's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yes. But what do they need money for? They're not allowed to leave the house.
well, you can go to essential shops only, and I live next door to a corner shop that sells sweets, Martin.
Ah, that is essential. Absolutely.
That's essential. Yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. So what is the overarching message of this? I think the overarching message is that people have to sell. If you're in business, you have to be selling, and there's a good way to do it, you know, that will only benefit you. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what.
Yeah, and your customer. And your customer.
About this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good.
Is that all right?
Things
good to see you, Martin. Yeah.
It's good to see you too, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I don't know if we've resolved anything. I thought we were going to resolve this whole issue. But the thing is, both of us are saying exactly the same thing. You know, there's no contention. Get close to your customers, listen to what your customers need, develop solutions that meet those needs. You know, that's the job. That's the gig. I think it's a great job. And the only thing that's kind of surprised me in this conversation is that there is no channel for people who are clearly equipped to do that in school or
there's no career path, is there? There's a career path for a surgeon, there's a career path for an accountant or a barrister.
Or a nurse, or a scientist, or an engineer, I mean, there's a career path if you want to work in your local butchers. Do you know what I mean? It's like you could go out at 14 and get a Saturday job in your local butchers.
Or an Instagram influencer. You could probably Google that. Yes. There's a career path there. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe now. Okay, it's interesting. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
I think that's it. No, thank you very much for inviting me to talk, Martin. It's good to see you again in your sunny location.
Thank you very much. I'm a little bit red today. I was in the surf this morning taking photos.
I'm happy this week because it's reached 7 degrees, you know. Ridiculous.
Excellent. Well, let me see. I can't quite see. Take my headphones out. I think it's still 29 degrees here, and it's 9 o'clock in the evening.
Bastard. Yeah.
James, thank you so much for this, man. This has been really cool. I will let you know when it's live. And yeah, it's been really cool. Thanks, buddy.
You can see. All right, cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Catch you again soon. Cheers, man. Bye.